Waitress stands up to Billionaire, gets fired, but her lawyer reveals an amazing twist next day. The diner was buzzing with the smell of freshly brewed coffee and the clattering of plates, a sacred hub of small-town life. Emily, a 32-year-old waitress, poured her heart into each dish she served, her resilience shining through the long nights. The community welcomed her smile as she rushed between tables, often thinking of her father, a proud retired veteran, and her son Jake, waiting for her at home. But one stormy afternoon, everything changed. The door swung open, sending a gust of wind that ruffled the napkins on the counter. In walked Mark Winters, a billionaire wrapped in his arrogance, dressed in a sharp suit that seemed more at home on a fashion runway than in the humble diner. He surveyed the place with disdain, his lips curling in contempt as he ordered the most extravagant meal, making a spectacle of himself. "What a quaint little restaurant," he mocked, oblivious to the warmth surrounding him. Just then, as Emily rushed by with a steaming cup of coffee, disaster struck. The mug slipped from her fingers, splashing onto his expensive jacket. Time froze. The room fell silent, breaths held. Emily's cheeks flushed, her heart raced. "I'm so sorry," she squeaked out, eyes wide with panic, but instead of understanding, Mark's fury erupted. "Do you even know what this jacket costs?" he bellowed, venom drenching his words. The laughter and chatter faded, leaving only the harshness of his voice. With each insult, he belittled not only Emily but the very heart of the diner itself, the community of faces that had shared laughter and stories over countless cups of coffee. Yet, fueled by indignation and the weight of responsibility, Emily found her voice. "You may have money, but it doesn't give you the right to treat people like this," she asserted, her heart pounding, tears beginning to swell in her eyes from the emotional storm brewing within. The diners around her shared a collective gasp, disbelief washing over their faces. As the confrontation escalated, a security guard intervened to escort her out. Defeated, she stepped into the rain, tears streaming down her cheeks. She stood up for herself, but it felt like a bitter loss in a fight against a titan of wealth. The next day, the diner was abuzz with murmurs and whispered support. Emily's fellow diners rallied around her, sharing their stories of struggles against grand businesses like Mark's. "We're all in this together," one regular said, eyes shining with determination. They found inspiration in Emily's bravery, reigniting a sense of community that had been dimmed for far too long. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but suddenly, as Emily washed dishes in her dimly lit kitchen that evening, her phone rang. "Emily, it's your lawyer," the voice on the other end was urgent. "Mark Winters has been exposed for exploiting small businesses. We need you to come forward." Her heart raced. Was this the twist they needed? The thought of becoming a voice for the silenced sent a surge of hope through her. As whispers of the town united around her, the diners spoke of Emily's courage, inspiring change. But as momentum built, so did danger. Just when it seemed like they had a chance to turn the tide, she received an anonymous threat demanding she back down. With the weight of her father's legacy, her son's future, and her community's dreams on her shoulders, she stood at a daunting crossroads, questioning how far she was willing to go for justice. As she gazed out into the dark horizon, the stakes climbed higher, leaving everyone wondering, could one woman's voice truly topple the walls of injustice? The rain drummed against the window, each drop echoing Emily's spiraling thoughts. She held the phone tightly, feeling the warmth of her lawyer's urgency seep into her. "Come forward." The words circled in her mind like vultures, reminding her of everything she stood to lose. Jake's laughter, her father's pride, the little diner that felt like home. Was she ready to risk it all? In her heart, doubt wrestled with determination. The community had rallied around her, but could they withstand the backlash that would surely come from Mark? As thoughts collided in her head, Emily stood up, pacing the small kitchen. She had always been a fighter, but now the stakes felt immeasurable. That night, after an endless string of comforting reassurances from her lawyer, she finally decided to meet with a few close friends from the diner. They gathered in a weathered booth in the corner, the familiar warmth of each other's company buffering the looming fear. "I can't believe he'd go this far," Sarah said, stirring her coffee angrily. "People like him think they can crush us." "Maybe we should fight back," Henry chimed in, his brow furrowing in thought. "What if we all go public? Show them we're not afraid." Emily's heart swelled at their support, but doubt still lingered. "What if he sues us? What if he sends someone after us? Then we fight together," Sarah asserted, her eyes fierce with resolve. "We can't let him intimidate us into silence. Think of all the businesses he has hurt." Sitting there surrounded by the faces she cared for, she began to see a flicker of hope. They weren't just patrons of the diner, they were her family, a collective strength that gave her courage, but as the night wore on, that flicker fought against the weight of fear. And as Emily lay in bed later, the shadows deepened around her, she started to remember a speech her father often gave her about courage. "It's not about how afraid you are. It's about what you choose to do in the face of it." The next morning, she awoke with a growing resolve. If Mark wanted a fight, she would be ready. But just as she began to plan her next steps, her phone buzzed with an incoming message. An anonymous text flashed across the screen that made her blood run cold. "Back down, or you'll regret it." The fear prickled at the back of her neck, but she refused to crumble. Instead, a defiance pulsed within her. She reached for her phone, fingers trembling as she typed back a message, "You don't scare me." Before she could second-guess herself, she pressed send. The lines were drawn, and she was committed now. The diner buzzed with activity as news spread of Emily's potential stand against Mark. Her friends offered encouraging smiles, while the regulars whispered words of support. Yet in the shadows, uncertainty lay thick. She knew a reckoning was coming, but would it strengthen the bonds of the community she loved, or break them apart? As she looked around at the faces, each line etched with stories of struggle, Emily smiled bravely, hoping they would hold strong together. But even as she held on to that flicker of hope, dread gnawed at her insides. What if this wasn't just the beginning of a fight, but the start of something much darker? With the weight of the kingdom perched precariously on her shoulders, Emily stood at the threshold of uncertainty. What would the next step cost her, both personally and for her community? And just as she found a moment of clarity, a figure appeared at the door, dark and menacing, holding something that threw her into a panic. Her heart skipped. Was it just fear, or could it be a sign of something more? Emily's breath caught in her throat as the figure stepped into the soft light of the diner. It was Mark, and he was not alone. A tall man in a dark suit flanked him, an intimidating presence that made the morning chatter fade into whispers. The warmth of the diner, once a cocoon, felt suddenly cold and unwelcoming. "What do you want?" Emily's voice came out firmer than she felt, the fight bubbling just beneath the surface. Mark shot her a smug smile, his eyes glinting with a bravado she had come to resent. "We need to talk, Emily. About your threats, and about your little plan to go public." He glanced around, taking in the faces that had once been familiar. "You really think these people will back you up? I can make it so they regret the day they chose to support you." The laughter and warmth that had filled the diner moments ago seemed to dim. The regulars exchanged uneasy glances, and Emily could feel their fear pressing against her like an oppressive weight. She clenched her fists, grounding herself in the moment. "They know what you've done," she shot back, her voice tougher than the rising panic inside her. "Your intimidation tactics won't work here." Mark took a step closer, the smile on his face widening. "Intimidation? Oh no, Emily. This isn't intimidation. This is just a preview of what I can do if you continue this crusade. You're about to lose everything: your friends, your diner, your reputation." The threat hung in the air, heavy and impactful. Emily's heart raced, but a defiant spark ignited within her. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing her cornered. As if sensing her resolve, Mark glanced at his companion, who remained silent, but the tension in the room thickened. "Consider this your final warning," Mark added, stepping back, confidence unraveling. "I'm not the villain in this story, Emily. You are." With that, he turned on his heel, striding towards the door, the suit man following without a word. The door swung shut with a finality that echoed in the silence that followed. It took a moment for reality to settle, but when it did, Emily felt the burden of fear lift slightly. She wasn't alone. The diner erupted into hushed conversations, the regulars rallying closer. Sarah was at her side almost immediately, her eyes blazing with anger. "He won't get away with this. We'll fight back." Henry nodded, his brows knitted in determination. "We can't let him scare us into silence. We have to go public, Emily, we have to stand together." For the first time since she received that threatening text, hope flickered brightly in her chest. The warmth and strength of the community enveloped her, pushing back against the darkness Mark had tried to wrap around them. Just then, her phone buzzed again, causing her to jump. She grabbed it, her heart pounding as she read the new message. It was from her lawyer. "Emily, I have a huge development. Can we meet today?" A surge of adrenaline shot through her as she considered what it might mean. New evidence? A strategy? Was it a way out of this nightmare? "I have to go," Emily announced, looking into the eyes of her friends. "Whatever happens next, we face it together." They nodded, solidarity apparent in their expressions. As she pushed through the door, ready to face whatever lay ahead, she couldn't shake the feeling that the storm was just beginning. Remembering Mark's words made her skin crawl, but there was also a flicker of anticipation. Was her lawyer about to reveal something that could change everything? And as she stepped out into the brisk air, wondering what awaited her, the thought lingered, would she finally unlock the truth that would expose Mark for who he really was? With that question heavy in her heart, she set out, determined and full of hope, knowing the tide could finally turn. Would this next meeting be the defining moment she had long awaited? Emily walked briskly toward her lawyer's office, each step ignited by a mix of hope and anxiety. The cool air did little to calm the frenzy in her chest. She couldn't shake the image of Mark's smug expression from her mind, nor the assumed power he wielded like a heavy cloak. But more than that, she thought of her friends, their trust and the strength of their unity. As she reached the office building, a wave of doubt washed over her. What if this meeting didn't go the way she hoped? What if her lawyer had bad news? She took a deep breath, steeling herself. She had to be ready for anything. Inside, the office had the sterile, polished look common among legal firms. A receptionist greeted her with a quick smile before ushering her to a small conference room. The walls were lined with law books and diplomas, each holding promises of justice. A moment later, her lawyer, Lisa, entered. She was in her late 40s, her demeanor both warm and authoritative. "Emily," she said, her tone immediately easing some of Emily's tension. "Thank you for coming on such short notice." "Of course. You said you had something important to discuss?" Emily asked, her heart racing again. Lisa gestured for her to sit. "We do have a development that could change everything. But I need to ask you a few questions first." She opened a folder and spread out documents, her efficient manner commanding Emily's focus. "Okay," Emily said, leaning in, her heart pounding. "Tell me about your plan to go public," Lisa said, her eyes sharp but kind. "What evidence do you have against Mark?" Emily recounted her thoughts, sharing the evidence she collected over the weeks. Receipts, quotes from witnesses, messages. She could see Lisa's face absorbing each detail, her expression shifting from curiosity to intrigue. "Good, very good," Lisa said, tapping her pen against the table. "But what I want to discuss is something even bigger." She looked up at Emily. "There's a chance we can file an injunction against Mark. If we can prove that he is attempting to intimidate you and others, we can potentially stop him in his tracks." Emily blinked, processing the words. You think we could actually win? There's a strong case here, especially since you have the community behind you. Lisa's tone turned serious. But we must act quickly. He won't sit idle. You need to rally your supporters, document everything more thoroughly, and we need testimonies. Emily felt a rush of adrenaline as her possible victory began to crystallize. I can do that, she said firmly. I'll get everyone on board. Lisa smiled, her eyes sparkling with determination. Great. And remember, you're not just fighting for yourself, this is about all of you who he has hurt. The weight of her words hung in the air. Emily nodded, feeling an unexpected surge of power. It wasn't just about her anymore. It was about justice and standing up against someone who thought he could silence them. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again, cutting through the momentum of the conversation. The familiar dread returned as she glanced at the screen. Another message from Mark. Just checking to see how your little lawyer meeting is going. I hope you realize this could all backfire. Emily's throat tightened. What does he want from me? Lisa's eyes darkened, a fierce look igniting. Ignore him. Don't engage. Focus on gathering your evidence and connecting with your community. If he thinks you're intimidated, he'll use it against you. Emily clenched her jaw. The thought of Mark trying to undermine her filled her with rage, but Lisa's words grounded her. You're right. No backing down. As the meeting went on, strategies emerged, alliances were formed in her mind. Her future felt less uncertain, yet the battle wasn't over. When she finally left the office, she found herself stepping under the clear sky, invigorated. She could feel the shift in the air around her. A change was coming, and she was determined to harness it, but just as she began to plan her next steps, a thought nagged at her. Was she truly ready for what lay ahead? As the weight of the impending confrontation settled on her shoulders, Emily's heart raced anew. Could she truly gather her community and stand tall against Mark, or would he somehow find a way to turn the tide against them? With her mind buzzing with possibilities and doubts, she knew this was only the beginning of a fight that would demand everything of her. But she wasn't alone. And now, with the clock ticking, she had to prepare herself because Mark wouldn't stop until he made her regret it. Would she be able to rally her allies, or would fear seep back into their hearts? Emily clutched her phone tightly as she made her way to the bustling cafe. The hum of conversation and the clinking of cups were a far cry from the weight of her thoughts. She barely even noticed the comforting smell of freshly brewed coffee thickening in the air. All she could think about was how to rally her community, how to turn the tide against Mark. Her friends were already there, Leah and Sarah, the loudest of her supporters, their laughter cutting through Emily's haze of worry. Hey! You okay? Leah leaned forward, concern creeping into her voice as she caught the flicker of anxiety on Emily's face. Yeah, just a lot on my mind, Emily replied, forcing a smile. The warmth in their eyes momentarily eased the tension. As they gathered around the table, Emily quickly shared the news from her meeting with Lisa. She spoke about the potential injunction, feeling a flicker of hope reignite in her chest. It was inspiring to watch Leah and Sarah's expressions shift from concern to determination, but that hope was tarnished by a whisper of fear as she mentioned Mark's latest text. Leah leaned in, her expression grave. He can't scare you like that. We have your back. Sarah nodded vigorously, her curls bouncing with enthusiasm. Let's put together a plan. We can send messages, set up a meeting. Anything to get people on board. The energy in the room began to pulse, a heart beating louder with each passing moment. Emily could feel it, a wave of shared resolve, a stirring of something powerful. Okay, let's do this, she said, visions of their community coming together flooding her mind, but there was still doubt weighing Emily down. What if he tries to turn them against us? He's good at manipulating people. Leah reached over, squeezing Emily's hand. We'll combat his lies. We can have a gathering, be transparent, show people we're fighting for something important. Emily's heart raced at the thought. She envisioned a public meeting, a space filled with friends and supporters, voices united against Mark's intimidation tactics. "We could plan it for the weekend, right?" Sarah chimed in, excitement in her voice. "Let people know we're stronger together." "Yes. I can talk to the local community center, see if they'll let us use the space," Emily said, a spark igniting in her. She could almost see it now. A room full of empowering voices, their solidarity drowning out Mark's threats. With each word spoken, the reality of their mission became clearer. They spent the next hour hashing out a plan, drafting flyers, drafting speeches. Emily felt a newfound determination coursing through her. This wasn't just about her anymore, it was a movement, a wave of noise building against the quiet tyranny Mark wielded. Just before they wrapped up, Leah's phone buzzed. She looked down and paled slightly. Guys, you might want to see this." Emily turned, her heart sinking as Leah turned her phone for them to see. A social media post from Mark, the screen filled with accusations and twisted half-truths about Emily and her alleged claims of harassment. "Are you kidding me?" Emily gasped, the implication ripping through her like a cold wind. He's already trying to frame this as a smear campaign. "But it could backfire, right?" Sarah said, her voice a mix of hope and fear. "People can see through that." Leah scrolled down. There are already comments popping up. Supporters of his, but also people questioning him. They're curious. And we need to capitalize on that curiosity. Emily's mind raced. She could feel the urgency wrapping around them like a thick fog. We show our side, get our story out before he twists it further. A sense of camaraderie surrounded them, surging with each word spoken. They were in this together, ready to fight with everything they had. Yet, as Emily looked at Mark's post again, uncertainty clawed at her insides. The stakes were higher now. Could they actually turn the tide in time? Emily took a deep breath. "Let's meet again tomorrow. We have to be prepared. I can't back down now." As they gathered their things, the atmosphere felt electric, a harbinger of what was to come. But in the pit of her stomach, a knot of fear remained. Would their strength be enough to outmaneuver the darkness Mark was bringing, or had he already garnered too much power? Determined to prove that together they were stronger, she stepped into the cool evening air with her friends by her side. Yet, just when she thought a sense of clarity was dawning, another message pinged on her phone. It was from Lisa. "I have some news. We need to talk ASAP." Emily's heart dropped. What now? Questions swirled in her mind as she walked home, the night closing in around her. What did Lisa know that could change everything? Emily's heartbeat quickened as she opened her text messages. The screen lit up with Lisa's name glowing in stark contrast against the dark frame of the phone. She could feel a swirl of anxiety alongside a flicker of hope. What did Lisa hear? What news could possibly change their trajectory? As she walked home, her mind raced through scenarios, each more daunting than the last. Was it about Mark? Did he have more people in his corner than they thought? Or was it something entirely different? She tried to shake the thoughts away, focusing instead on the camaraderie of the cafe. Leah and Sarah's laughter echoed in her ears, a reminder of the strength they were building together. But the moment she stepped through her door, the walls felt a bit too close. The familiar sight of her modest living room did little to calm her rising tension. She grabbed a glass of water, her hands trembling as she tried to steady herself. She sat down at her small kitchen table and stared at the phone, waiting for Lisa's call that would either be a lifeline or a dagger. Minutes turned into an eternity. Just as she was about to give in to the urge to text, her phone rang. The sound jolted through her. With a trembling hand, she answered. "Lisa?" "Emily, thank goodness you picked up." Lisa's voice was urgent, but there was an underlying relief in her tone. "I have vital information, something you need to know before the gathering." The weight on Emily's chest felt a bit lighter, but the urgency in Lisa's voice reminded her this was serious. "What is it?" she asked, her heart racing. Mark is trying to rally his supporters by spreading half-truths, yes. But there's something bigger. I've been digging into the records, and it turns out he had a run-in with the law a few years back. Something that could undermine his credibility. Emily's breath hitched. She had heard whispers of Mark's past, but nothing concrete. What do you mean? He was involved in a lawsuit regarding a previous business venture that ultimately collapsed. The way he treated the employees, it was pretty dismal. It's public record, but people have forgotten. If we can get the story out, it could change everything. Emily's mind raced. We need proof. We can't just rely on accusations, it has to be solid evidence. I can gather the details. We need to expose him right as the gathering starts. That will shift the narrative. Hope surged within her. You think this could work? Emily, this could be the turning point. But you have to promise me something. What? You need to remain calm and focused during the gathering. This isn't just about you anymore, it's about everyone he has harmed. Okay, I'll do it. What I need to prepare. Just keep your allies close. You'll need them when the storm comes because he's not going to take this lying down. Prepare yourself for pushback. After they hung up, Emily stared out the window into the hazy streetlight glow. The night sky seemed heavy above her, charged with anticipation. Would they be prepared? Could they muster enough courage to face Mark's wrath? The stakes felt higher than ever. She understood now that their upcoming gathering would be more than an opportunity to speak, it would be their declaration of independence from fear's chokehold. Gathering strength from this, she texted Leah and Sarah. Meeting tomorrow. Urgent details about Mark's past. We need to strategize. As she hit send, the knot in her stomach began to unravel just slightly. The shadows of doubt still loomed, but she had something now, a sliver of light to guide them. Then her phone buzzed again. It was a notification from Mark. Your friends want to save you, Emily. Just wait and see what's coming. A chill ran down her spine. Could they truly stand against such overwhelming darkness? She shot a quick glance at the reflection of herself in the window, barely recognizing the person staring back. In that reflection was a warrior, poised to fight back. Tomorrow would be critical. But would they have the strength to stand against the tides of manipulation and fear? The question echoed in her mind, lingering like a storm hanging in the air. Emily woke up to the soft chime of her alarm, but it felt like an anchor dragging her deeper into uncertainty. Last night's conversation with Lisa echoed in her mind. She couldn't shake the feeling of looming dread mixed with a newfound hope. Taking a deep breath, she pulled herself out of bed. The sunlight streamed through the curtains, illuminating the modest space she called home. She looked around at the familiar objects that had brought her comfort over the years. Today, however, they felt foreign, as if their significance had been replaced by the weight of impending confrontation. In the kitchen, she poured herself a cup of coffee, the aroma temporarily soothing her nerves. As she sipped, she thought of Leah and Sarah. Their friendship had turned from casual to critical, an undeniable force that fueled her resolve. They were set to meet in just a few hours. Emily needed to lay out the details, the stakes, the urgency of their mission. But would they all be able to muster the courage to face Mark together? By the time she gathered her notes, her heart raced with the rhythm of excitement and apprehension. Every sheet of paper felt like a lifeline, bridging the gap between her fears and the truth they needed to expose. She decided she wanted to be the anchor in their group. For far too long, fear had secured its grip on her life. It was time to let conviction steer the ship. The sun rose higher, casting warm light across her living room. She glanced at the clock. She was running late. Hustling out the door, she told herself that today was about more than just speaking up, it was about igniting change. Reaching the cafe where she'd arranged to meet her friends, she felt the buzz of anticipation in the air. They had fought hard to get to this point, and now they were uniting for a cause so much bigger than any individual grievance. The other patrons barely noticed her as she settled into a table in the corner, a few moments of solitude wrapping around her like a warm blanket. Soon, Leah and Sarah arrived, both looking equally determined. Their eyes sparkled with an unspoken understanding, a bond formed through shared struggles. "Hey," Leah greeted, her voice steady. "I've been thinking about our strategy. If we have the evidence ready for when we expose Mark, it'll cut deep." Emily nodded, grateful for the focused attack plan Leah had laid out. "We'll need to be ready for his response, though. Lisa mentioned he won't go down without a fight. We can't back down." Sarah took a sip of her drink and looked directly at Emily. "We all have something to lose, Emily. But we also have something to gain. Are you ready for this?" The weight of Sarah's words settled into the depth of Emily's chest. It was a question she had been avoiding, but now it hung in the air, thick with urgency. "Ready as I'll ever be," she said, straightening up. "Let us do this together. No more shadows, no more silence." As the three friends strategized, a momentary flicker of doubt danced at the edges of Emily's mind. She had felt so powerful, but could they really withstand the backlash? Just then, Emily's phone lit up again, yet another notification from Mark. The message was typical of him, dripping with challenge, but it also felt like a dare. "Think you can turn the tide? You'll wish you hadn't tried." "Damn," Leah muttered, her brow furrowing. "He's trying to intimidate you." "No way," Emily said, determination rising within her. "Let him come. We've got this." With their confidence rising and a plan finally forming, Emily took a deep breath. Maybe today wasn't just a battle against Mark. Maybe it was a step towards a brighter future. The cafe buzzed around them, oblivious to the revolution brewing at their table. They were ready to fight back. But as they gathered their papers, determined to present the truth, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something unexpected was waiting to unfold, not just from Mark, but something deeper that could change everything they fought for. Could they truly hold their ground, or would the forces working against them prove too strong? The gathering approached, and the final question loomed large. Would they be ready for the truth to unravel before them? The clatter of cups and muffled laughter surrounded Emily as she and her friends built the final touches of their plan. Each page was carefully arranged in front of them, a testament to their resilience and preparation. Yet beneath the surface, the anxiety simmered like a pot about to boil over. The confrontation loomed ahead like a storm cloud, threatening to unleash chaos in their lives. Leah glanced at Emily, her eyes sharp. "Remember, we need to stay focused. If Mark gets under our skin, we'll lose control." Emily bit her lip, considering her response. "He knows our fears. He feeds on them. But we can't let him." She clenched her fists, feeling the sweat of apprehension on her palms. Sarah leaned in closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if he brings something we don't expect? Something that could turn it all against us?" The question hung in the air, heavy and unsettling. "No," Emily replied firmly, shaking her head. "We can't think like that. We've worked too hard to let doubt creep in. We have proof, and it's time to show it. We're stronger than he thinks." As they prepared to leave, the atmosphere shifted. Emily's phone vibrated again, and she briefly glanced down at the screen. Another notification from Mark. A sinking sensation spread through her. Was this an ominous sign? Before even reading the message, she felt the grip of fear tighten around her heart. "It's probably just more taunts," she said, trying to sound casual, though her fingers tingled in unease. Leah stood up. "Let us make this quick. If he's waiting for us, I don't want to give him the satisfaction." "Agreed," Emily said, setting her jaw with determination. They exited the cafe, stepping into the warm sunshine that bathed the street in gold. The world felt alive, yet Emily couldn't shake the shroud of trepidation that settled over her. As they approached the meeting location, unease washed over them like a wave. A tall office building loomed ahead, its glass exterior reflecting a crystalline sky. Emily's stomach churned. Was she ready for this? Moments later, they entered the building, the bustling lobby swallowing them in its echoes. The receptionist glanced up, her expression neutral, unaware of the turmoil brewing just steps away. Emily spotted a stairway that led to the conference room where Mark had agreed to meet them. Her heart raced as they climbed the steps, each footfall a countdown to the confrontation they'd been dreading and anticipating in equal measure. Inside the room, Mark was already seated, his expression calm, almost amused. It was that arrogant smirk of his that made Emily's skin crawl. "You're here," he said, his voice smooth as glass. "I wondered if you would chicken out at the last minute." Emily felt Leah and Sarah tense beside her, each of them preparing for the battle ahead. But she took a deep breath, standing tall like they had practiced. "We're not here to play games, Mark. We have facts, and we're ready to share them." Mark raised an eyebrow, curiosity piqued. "Is that so?" His confidence was unnerving. Emily's hands trembled slightly as she placed the documents on the table. "This ends today. No more bullying, no more silence." Just then, a voice chimed in from the doorway, freezing Emily in place. She turned to see a familiar figure enter the room, a lawyer she recognized from a past incident involving Mark's shady dealings. Her heart raced. Had he come to help? "Am I interrupting?" he asked, a knowing glint in his eye. Mark's face flickered with surprise, quickly replaced by irritation. "What are you doing here?" Emily's breath caught as the lawyer stepped forward. "I'm here to ensure fair practice and transparency. You might want to rethink your strategy, Mark. The tides are shifting." Emily exchanged glances with Leah and Sarah, a spark of hope igniting in her chest. What was about to unfold felt monumental, and for the first time, they weren't alone in their fight. With everything hanging in the balance, Emily suddenly felt as though the tide truly had turned. But as the lawyer pulled out a file of his own, the questions loomed larger. Than ever could they trust this unexpected ally, or was this just another layer of Mark's game? The confrontation was far from over, and Emily wondered what other surprises lay ahead in their quest for truth. Would it bring them closer to victory, or uncover deeper deceit? The room buzzed with tension as the lawyer took his place at the table. Emily's heart raced, mixing fear with a flicker of hope. Was this man a friend or another pawn in Mark's game? Mark's irritation morphed into disdain as he leaned back in his chair, his arms crossed tightly over his chest. "You've bitten off more than you can chew," he sneered. "This is a private matter." The lawyer shot him a steady look, unruffled by Mark's attempt to intimidate. "On the contrary, Mark. This concerns more than just you. It's about integrity and standing up against bullying in every form." Emily drew in a shaky breath. Each word spoken was like a spark igniting her resolve. She glanced at Leah and Sarah, their expressions mirroring her own determination. Together, they had fought against the shadows Mark cast. Now, they stood on the brink of something that could shatter that darkness. Mark shifted in his seat, the confidence he wore now slipping slightly. "You're all wasting your time. What can you possibly do against me?" "More than you think," the lawyer countered, opening the file he had brought with him. "Within this folder are documents that outline your previous exploits, mismanagement, harassment, and something darker that stretches beyond your reputation." Emily's breath caught in her throat. Could this be the turning point? Mark shot a glare at her, his mask of superiority cracking. "You don't really believe you can scare me, do you?" But there was a tremor in his voice, a hint of vulnerability that sent a surge of adrenaline through Emily. "I'm not trying to scare you, Mark, but you should be scared," she said, grounding herself in the moment. "We're done cowering. This is about more than just us." As she spoke, Emily's passion burned brighter, piercing through the fog of fear. Leah nodded, her voice rising in confidence as she added, "We came prepared. Your game's end now." Mark glanced around the room, perhaps for the first time realizing he was outnumbered. A flicker of uncertainty crossed his face, and Emily caught the way his eyes darted to the documents laid out before him. The lawyer leaned in, his tone firm yet calm. "This isn't just about retribution. It's about accountability. You've caused enough pain. The silence that followed hung heavy, a palpable tension strengthening the air. Emily could feel the drum of her heart, a steady rhythm urging her forward. "What do you want?" Mark finally snapped, the facade of control slipping. "An apology," Emily replied, her voice steady. "And a promise that you'll stop using your influence to hurt others." Mark's jaw clenched tightly as he stared at her, fury flickering in his eyes. It was almost satisfying to see. "I'll never," he began, but the lawyer interrupted. "Think carefully, Mark. The more people find out about this, the harder it will be for you to regain your standing." An uneasy silence filled the room again, and Emily saw the spark of doubt flicker in Mark's gaze. Was he genuinely weighing his options? Suddenly, a fire alarm blared, piercing through their tense standoff. The bright red light above the door flashed erratically, causing everyone to turn. "Evacuate!" shouted the receptionist, panic rising in her voice. Emily's heart raced, unexpected chaos unraveling their moment. They scrambled to their feet, and amidst the confusion, she caught Mark's eyes for the briefest of seconds. This wasn't over. As they filed out into the hallway, Emily felt a surge of determination. They had crossed a line, and there was no turning back now. Their unity felt solid, their resolve stronger than ever. "Where to next?" Leah asked, breathless as they pushed into the warm sunlight outside, chaos swirling around them. Emily looked at her friends, her voice firm. "We regroup and plan. This isn't just about today. We're fighting for more than that." As the distant sound of sirens rose, her mind spun with thoughts of what lay ahead. Would they face even more obstacles? Could Mark retaliate in unexpected ways? And then, like a jolt of electricity, another worry struck her. What about the evidence they had prepared? Had it been compromised in the uproar? The stakes had risen, and the battle was far from over. "Time to face the truth," she whispered, feeling a mix of fear and exhilaration surge within her. But as they turned to head down the street, a figure emerged from the crowd, holding a phone at arm's length with flashing lights and a camera. Emily's breath caught as realization sank in. Who was capturing all of this? The moment felt charged. They had come out of the fire only to step into the storm. Would the world see their fight? And, importantly, would it be enough to change everything? The unexpected twists ahead hung like a storm cloud, heavy with possibility and dread. The sun shone bright the following day, casting away the nervous tension from yesterday's chaos. Emily stood in front of the diner, her heart racing with a hopeful anticipation. The gathering had been set for that evening at the community center. The room buzzed with word of their cause, the small-town community coming together to support their own, a movement birthed from courage and resilience. Inside, Emily worked alongside Leah and Sarah to put up decorations and prepare for the crowd. Banners with messages of empowerment fluttered above their heads, the scent of fresh coffee and baked goods filling the air with warmth. It felt like a lifeline, stretching out towards the uncertainty of the battle ahead. Her friends moved with passion, the laughter and determination flowed easily between them, invigorating Emily's spirit. "What a powerful night this is going to be!" Leah exclaimed, her hands busy tying strings of lights. "Just think about the number of people coming out to voice their support. We're not alone in this." Sarah added, her eyes sparkling with optimism as she arranged the chairs in neat rows. Emily nodded, the sight of her friends igniting her strength. But doubts lingered like shadows on the edges of her mind. Mark hadn't backed down after their confrontation. The thought of him plotting something sinister made Emily's stomach churn. Yet she felt a surge of power swell within her. This wasn't just about facing Mark. It was about standing tall against all forms of injustice. As the clock ticked closer to the start time, people began filtering into the hall. Familiar faces from the diner filled the seats, and others she had never met whispered excitedly about the unfolding events. Emily felt a warmth spread through her, igniting her courage like a flame. When the room finally quieted, she took a deep breath, her heart pounding. Stepping up to the microphone, she locked eyes with her friends, drawing strength from their presence. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Emily started, her voice steady despite the storm brewing in her chest. "We're gathered not just for me, but for every single person in this community who has felt powerless against intimidation and bullying." She could see nods of affirmation from familiar faces. "Yesterday, we faced darkness, but every time shadows loom, it's our united light that can break through. We can't let anyone make us feel less than we are." Her words rang with conviction, and the energy in the room surged forward, propelling her as she recounted her story. She shared her journey, the fears she faced, and the strength she found in her friends and community. Each heart in that room beat with the rhythm of solidarity, echoing back what Emily was feeling. They were in this together. Suddenly, the heavy doors swung open with a loud bang, cutting through the moment. Emily's heart raced, her breath caught as she saw Mark enter, flanked by the tall man in the dark suit. The low murmurs in the room rose to a collective gasp. But instead of fear, Emily felt anger ignite within her. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, her voice fierce. Mark flashed a vindictive smile. "Just wanted to see your little show. But don't think for a second it will change anything." Without hesitating, Emily stepped forward. "You here represents the very thing we're fighting against. It proves how vital this gathering is. Your intimidation tactics won't silence us." The crowd erupted with encouragement, voices lifting in support, standing with her as Mark's smile faltered. Emily recognized the power she'd wielded. They had become a formidable force against oppression, ready to face any storm. "This is about more than just Mark," she continued, the tide of spirit urging her on. "This is about standing for community, love, and integrity." "Enough!" Mark shouted, but the energy from the community drowned him out. Just then, the lawyer from yesterday appeared beside Emily, eyes fixed on Mark. "Your intimidation ends here, Mark. We have evidence of your past, standing against everything you think you are. You can't twist this narrative anymore." Gasps resonated throughout the crowd, and a palpable tension gripped the air. The unease transformed into solidarity. Dozens of people stood in unison, ready to back Emily against whatever Mark conjured. "I'll make sure everyone hears what I have to say." Mark spat, but it was too late. The truth was now in motion. With newfound strength, Emily backed the lawyer's words, sharing how they had united to expose corruption. The room listened intently, the resolve of the crowd swelling to uncontainable levels. As Emily spoke, the weight lifted off her shoulders. She understood. They were no longer fighting just a battle, it was a movement, a change they were forging together. When she finished, the applause erupted, shaking the very walls of the community center. People began voicing their own stories, words spilling out of corners of lives scarred by Mark's influence. It was a tidal wave of unity that swept through the room, sweeping aside fear and lighting the path toward justice. Mark's face twisted into a mix of rage and disbelief as he realized he had lost control of the narrative. As the crowd rallied around Emily, her friends hugged her tightly, their support a blanket of warmth that encouraged her heart. Together they had spoken out, igniting change. Mark's reign of intimidation was over, unraveling before the power of community, the truth finally seen by all. Emily sensed a shift, a defining moment in time when hope triumphed over fear. She was no longer just Emily the waitress, she was Emily, a champion of communal strength. As the crowd erupted in cheers, Emily raised her hands high, feeling the surge of love filling the room. The battle was won, but the war against oppression would continue. She knew that together, they would always stand strong, and as the echoes of support rang throughout the community center, one thought broke through the excitement: this was just the beginning. Now, for you, the reader, you need to subscribe now to the channel. Don't miss the next exclusive stories that could inspire you just as it inspired Emily. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your feelings about this emotional journey. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to make a difference together. Don't wait not even one more second.